Can we normalize apologizing to children? Yes, because your words, your tone, and your actions can hurt our feelings too. Instead of downplaying it or ignoring it, just talk to us and apologize. And trust me, we'll understand more than you think. Happy Diamond!
Wow, apologizing to our kids when we make mistakes, as difficult as it may be, sometimes sets our kids up to recognize their own shortcomings and help them to learn to apologize as well. Now let's start the conversation with counseling psychologist, Dr. Joan Pinkney. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly, Dr. Joan?
I've been called many things.
I want to make sure I'm calling your last name properly.
The pronunciation is Pinkney.
Pinkney. All right.
Hi, Dr. Joan.
Dr. Joan. Welcome to Weekend Smile. Dr. Joan, let me tell you, when I saw this about parents apologizing to children, the first question I asked is, in Jamaica?
That's true.
Are we saying that this is possible in Jamaica?
Really happen?
Absolutely, because there is a school of thought which says that, parents don't apologize. In fact, I have a girlfriend who said to me that her 80-year-old mother said, parents don't apologize to children because, there is the upper hand, the status, the power that the parent has. Mm-hmm. And a lot of parents feel that if they say, I'm sorry, that you're condescending, that you're taking the lowest state in the relationship. And they're accustomed to holding the handle and not the blade. So when you say, I'm sorry to your child, you're holding the blade and the child is holding the handle. And so they literally refuse to say, I'm sorry. No matter how blatant the act is and how much it is needed, they can't. They tell themselves that they can't, and they don't.
No, Dr. Joan, it seems it's just a matter of pride. Sometimes you just realize that you are wrong, but pride just stands in the way most of the time. How do you manage that? And tell us about, your relationship with your children and how you manage pride and manage to say, I'm sorry when you're wrong.
Well, I remember my younger daughter, because I have 3 children. Okay. Two, the boy is in the middle and the 2 girls are at the end. And the youngest child, who's a younger daughter, one day she said to me, she was about 5, 6. And she had a sad face. So I said, what's wrong? And she said, I hurt her feelings. And I said, I did. And she told me what it was. Of course, it was negligible to me. But she was big on it. And I had to tell her I'm sorry to hurt her feelings, because she was then going out to and say, I'm not being your friend, and those kinds of things. So I had to apologize because the thing is that children, particularly in those years, the formative years of development, what we say to them, what we do to them, or what we omit to do stays with them for life.
Right.
And so I confess that I spoke at my church on Sunday here, Mother's Day. And one of the things that I challenged the parents to do was to apologize to their children. And whilst I was preparing to speak, I was convicted. And what came to me was, we do so much, because as mothers, we're nurturers, and we do so much for our children, but we have so much power, more than we recognize.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I had to stop, because I felt convicted that I needed to go to my 3 adult children and ask them, well, not ask, just go to them and say, look, I know that I have not been a perfect mother, and I am coming to you to apologize, just in case I influenced you in any negative way, or in any way that impacted you negatively, and even caused you to assume a negative behavior. And of course, it was a very emotional moment and a rebonding moment for the 4 of us. But I'm glad I did it, because whilst they didn't really list any 1 to 10 that I did, but I'm sure I must have offended them in some way, particularly when they were teenagers. Yeah. But the point is that it took some working up of my psyche to say I'm going to go to them, because what if they said something that I didn't want to hear? But it also affirmed me, and also affirmed them as in as much as they're adults, that I am willing to look at what I've done, if I've done anything, and even on the premise of not knowing what I've done, I'm willing to still say, just in case, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
And so
sorry.
it was very powerful for me.
Has there ever been a time where you can remember your parents apologizing to you, or even a similar situation happening? Because Debbie and I were talking before, and I was like, when our parents apologize to us, it's more like so it's malice, you malice me, or is
Yeah.
so you eat already, or you're not hungry kind of vibe. Yeah.
But when you were talking, I was going to say, Eller. Eller. Because I honestly don't recall getting an apology. I've gotten a behavior which mimics an apology,
Right.
but not the words, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Dr. Joan, talking about apologies, as a parent, I've been told as well, the importance of toughening up as a child. And oftentimes parents will say, I'm growing you like this because I'm preparing you for the world, who they don't often apologize. The world, different situations, different scenarios may happen with people, and they will not apologize to you if they've offended you. And so how do you strike that balance with grooming a child, that you want to understand that, it's okay that you can recognize when you're not doing something correct for them so you can apologize, but also not becoming too overly sensitive that they're not able to just move on from things that they will not get an apology for?
Right. I'm not sure that I'm understanding the question, but are you asking when a parent does not apologize, the effects or the impact on the child? That's what you're asking?
I'm asking about how do we go about giving a balance where we can apologize and not also try to grow overly sensitive children because we feel they need to always be apologizing.
Well, when we apologize, we need to understand what we're teaching. Is that we're teaching our children that, hey, people make mistakes. People make mistakes. And I'm one of those who have made a mistake.
Right.
And I'm not afraid to say I'm sorry. Saying you're sorry is not something, well, what it does is that it normalizes I'm sorry.
Okay.
So it's like you want to teach your children that when you get anything to eat, you must bless it. So when you do it over and over at the dinner table, it's automatic for the child. The child is conditioned that once I get something I'm going to put in my mouth, the first thing I do is I stop and bless. So when the child understands that when someone says what you did caused me pain, that it is okay to say I'm sorry because it's a normal part of everyday life.
Okay.
Okay.
When the child is, when there's no apology from the parent, that what you're saying to the child is that you really don't need to apologize, even if you have hurt someone. So it takes away from the whole business of care. It makes the child hold on to this sense of ego, and you can become even to the extreme of embracing narcissistic tendencies.
Okay.
It's really all about me.
Okay.
But if you show the child, hey, I did something wrong, I'm acknowledging what I have done to offend you, and don't explain it away, because sometimes when we do that, we take away from the core of an apology. So don't say to the child, boy, if you never do it, I wouldn't do this to you.
Okay.
Or don't make excuses for what you have done. So, boy, I am this, or I'm tired, or I'm whatever. Or chide the child for feeling badly about something which you consider to be trivial.
Doc, you mentioned the core of the apology, and I was just about to ask you, what would you suggest, is as the correct way to apologize to your children? So you mentioned not taking away the core of the apology, which is, if you never do this, I wouldn't have done that. But,
Right.
do you have any other recommendations?
Well, ensure that you say to the child, acknowledge the particular action, what you did. So you're saying to the child, I did this, and I recognize that how I did it, or what I did, or how I said it was wrong. I'm also acknowledging that you are hurt by it,
Okay.
and I'm sorry.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
promise as best as I can in the future that I won't do it again.
Right.
That doesn't take away from the parents' power. In fact, what it should do is that it should empower, it should create a greater bond with the child and the parent. And if the child wants to use it again as a weapon to say, remember, whatever, the parent has a right to put it in perspective and to say, when I apologized, my reason was because I know that I'd done something wrong, and I'm sorry for what I did. And so how dare you try to turn it back around and do this? So you correct that kind of behavior if the child try, because there's some children who are smart at that, and they
Right.
will come and say and use it as if they're, wielding power at the parent. But always remember that you are the parent and you're in charge.
Always remember, you are the parent and you are in charge. We're gonna end on that note, Doc. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We learned so much about apologizing to our children. Yes, don't forget, guys, don't take out the core of your apology, all right? I'm sorry. It never hurt anybody before, and it doesn't hurt to say that you are sorry. Thank you so much to Dr. Joan Pinkney, for
Yes.
joining us right here on Weekend Smile, dropping some gems, and of course, sharing with us how to apologize to our children. Weekend Smile will be back after the break.